It all starts with fire.
Hi everybody, I am Damien Osborne and I'm a fine artist from Cape Town in South Africa, and today I'm beginning my alchemical paint making journey with black, particularly bone black. This was a pigment that was used for thousands of years, also known as ivory black when ivory was used, but obviously in today's times this is understandably in decline. So if you have any questions, please just check out my website below. I hope you enjoy my new series and thanks for watching.
Okay, so here we have some oxtail and other bones, which my wife has been keeping for me, and you know, she likes to make bone broth and things like that from these bones, so they've just come out of the freezer. My wife's from Namibia, so she's very much into her good quality free-range beef and other meats. So obviously this just came from a stew, has to be cleaned off. So I'm going to boil these bones and clean them up and start a fire and basically begin the calcining process. Okay, here I'm just drying the bones in the sun. Okay, so now these bones have been boiled and washed off and left in the sun for a while to dry. I'm now going to put them in a pot. I've got a little steel porky pot here, and I might use some aluminium foil for Americans. Okay, so there we go. The bones are in this pot. I wrapped it in tin foil or aluminium foil to keep the air out. Okay, I'm going to take it to the fire and start the calcining process. Okay, so it's the next day and the fire is obviously burnt out. I let the fire burn for about 9 or 10 hours, just coming to check and putting a log on every now and again. And then it just got a bit too late, so I had to let it burn out overnight and go to bed. So here we are in the morning and I'm going to take it out now. It's cool enough. Hopefully everything's fine. Okay, there we go. Alright, here we go. This is the moment of truth. Oh, still quite hot. I don't know what color it's going to look like, because according to the different temperatures you can get from a sort of brown, greyish color to blue, black to white. So, oh, look at that. Amazing. Okay, now I'm going to grind up the bones in the mortar and pestle. Okay, so there we go. I have about 100 grams of ground and sifted bone black. Now I'm going to give it a wash to remove any impurities, and yeah, let's see what happens here. There's quite an interesting sparkle to the bone. I don't know if you can see that. Look how black that is. Okay, I stirred it up now, and now I'm going to pour it into this vase because it's nice and long and thin. Still quite a lot of sludge in here. The bone is pretty soft. I don't think it's going to be too difficult to grind with the glass muller. It's not like a mineral pigment really. Okay, there we go. I just added a bit more water. So I don't know how long it's going to take for the particles to descend or to sink to the bottom. I think it's going to take a few days at least. But this should be a way of separating all the impurities from the actual bone black pigment, and let's see what happens. Alright, so I let the water settle for a few days, and it took quite a while for the pigment to settle to the bottom. So now I have to remove this water. Okay, I'm going to start with a can and a bucket and try and get most of the water out first this way. Just trying to be very careful I don't disturb the pigment because it's very light. And then I'm going to use my turkey baster. This might take a while, but trying to be accurate. Still want a little bit of water left in the jar so that I can pour it into one of these bowls. Okay, I think that's enough. Alright, so now I'm just going to swirl it again after all the time of letting it settle. Come over here. Now I'm going to try and pour it into this bowl. Just going to get some more water. Okay, so what I'm doing now is letting the heavier pigment settle to the bottom and allowing the lighter pigment to still be in solution. And so I'm doing a process called levigation. I'm just going to pour it into this container here. So this pigment here is in this bowl is a little bit more gritty and needs to be ground. And then this is obviously very fine pigment in solution still. Now I'm just going to cover it with cheesecloth to allow the water to evaporate and leave it for a few days. This is just to keep the dust out. Okay, here we have some dried bone black. I let the bone black dry for a few days and then I crushed it and ground it nice and finely. So now it's time for my favorite part. I'm going to be mulling it with my glass muller and some linseed oil and making the oil paint. Alright, so for a 60ml tube, like this one, empty aluminium tube, you need about 3.5 spoons of bone black pigment and about 9 teaspoons of oil. That's what I found, give or take. So we're looking at about 30 grams of pigment
to about 9 teaspoons of oil. Bone black is particularly thirsty when it comes to mulling with linseed oil. You need a lot of oil for this pigment. I found most other pigments are not that thirsty, especially the mineral pigments. They don't require that much oil. So this is a bit of an interesting one. Alright, so I've got 30 grams of bone black pigment here. And I'm going to begin with just 15 mils of linseed oil to see how that goes. So that's about half linseed oil to pigment. We're going to have to add more, but let's just see how that goes. So I'll just make a little indentation with my spoon. So this is quite a lot of pigment right now, so I'll be breaking it up into parts as I mill it. But this is just to get the whole amount wet with the oil. Okay, that's 5 milliliters, 1 teaspoon. Right, mix it together. I find this pigment very thirsty. Usually needs a lot of oil. Okay, so that oil actually went nowhere. Just got soaked up. So let me do another 15 milliliters. Quite sandy, so I'm going to go with my original calculation and go with another 15 milliliters. Here's my glass mother, and this should stiffen up a little bit. Quite an unusual pigment I found, because it doesn't really behave the same way as mineral pigments. I find it very thirsty with the oil, so even though this looks really oily, like a big fat sludge of oil right now, I am expecting it to stiffen up a little bit as I grind it. So I'm just going to give it a general grind and then separate it into parts. Try and grind it quite thin on this granite slab. You can see how it's becoming more of a paste now as it absorbs the oil. So one thing you learn through making your own oil paints is how the different materials or pigments react to the binder, such as oil or whatever. And you actually have to be doing it practically rather than just reading formulas from books. It's really nice to use a granite slab for mulling your paints, especially a nice large one like this one, because then I can really spread out the paint quite thinly and make sure that all the particles are getting coated with oil. So this takes a bit of time and patience. Anyway, right, there's too much paint in here, so I'm just going to move it off to the side. And just mold bit by bit. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just take a little bit with my painting knife and place it in the middle, and then just mull a little bit at a time to make sure that everything is properly browned and coated with oil. Starting with circular movements and spreading it out, and then doing these little circular, or whatever. You can see it's kind of grainy and gritty, and as I mull it, it gets smoother and smoother. This is the pattern that I create, going round and round like this, and then occasionally doing a figure of 8 just to spread it out more. And then just take my painting knife, my palette knife, and just clean off the muller. And then go again. So you can see that the pigment becomes smoother, and it doesn't sound so grainy and scrapey anymore. The sound becomes softer, and once I'm sort of happy with that, then I just I'm going to pile it up again and put it to the side. Just move that out of the way. Sometimes your muller can stick to the surface. Oopsie. So now I'm just going to scrape it together and put it to one side and put it over here. So that's my mold pile. I'll take a bit more of the paint I need to work with. You can see the difference in texture. This is more sort of almost clay-like. This is a bit more grainy and looser. The funny thing with bone black is it seems to thicken up as you mull it, whereas I found other paints seem to loosen. Right, here we go. You can see that the paint has become a little bit more matte, because by mulling it further, I crushed the pigment smaller, or finer, I should say, and therefore it soaked up more of the oil and became less glossy. So now it's really quite thick and pasty, and I'm just going to add a little bit more oil to loosen it up a bit, because it's really, it's quite heavy to work with. It's very kind of muddy. The pigment is a lot finer, and so it should be, nice and transparent for glazes. We'll have to see. So I'm just going to add some more oil, just a touch, just to loosen it up a bit. Okay, and now it's time to fill up the painting tube. This is a 60mm aluminium painting tube, an empty tube, and this is now the kind of messy part. So I'm going to take my long painting knife and just kind of get the pigment in there. You could fill up a syringe if you want, and then just kind of squirt the stuff from the bottom up. You can see obviously that the lid is on. This is the back end of the tube. And every now and again I just kind of tap it to make sure that all the pigment starts to go down to the bottom, towards the lid side. It's important to make sure that all the paint is compressed in the tube and that there's no air gaps. And it's now filled about 2/3 of the way, up to about there. Because this end here now I'm going to fold over. So it's important not to overfill the tube. Take my painting knife and, well, first of all I squeeze it together. Make a nice edge and clean it with a paper towel. So I just squeeze it down. So I put my palette knife down along the edge there. Squeeze down, keep it clean, and then that says about 2 or 3 millimeters from the top, and I'll just make a little bit of a fold. And press. Press down. And then I've got these fancy sideways pliers just to squeeze it hard. Yeah, there we go. A tube of bone black pigment. Just needs a label. All done. So I just made a little label for my tube of paint, a handwritten label, and I just painted the top area up here of the label with the black just to show the actual color. This is a label done on primed linen canvas, so this is, you know, the real color. And then I just wrote the date on the back. So I'm going to do a test now of this pigment or this paint on a canvas board and mix it with a bit of white to see what kind of tints I get. Take a bit of oil. This is hand-refined linseed oil. Just put a few drops here. So there you can see a bit of a glaze. This is a transparent layer with a bit of oil, and it has quite a warm tone. It's quite a warm tone black. This is some carbon black. This I made the other day. Just going to compare the two blacks. I find the carbon black is a bit cooler, a bit more of a bluer black, I suppose. Right, here I have some titanium white. Just going to mix a little bit of bone black with it. Okay, so this is about 50-50 bone black to titanium white. We have a nice neutral grey here. I think the carbon black seems to have a stronger tinting strength than the bone black. A little bit more blue. Just going to add some more white. Okay, there you can see this is bone black, this is carbon black. I think that the carbon black has a slightly stronger tinting strength. Also slightly bluer. The bone black to me looks a little bit more of a neutral grey, neutral black. Both can be made fairly transparent with the oil glazing, but otherwise they can be quite opaque. Very strong tinting strengths, both of them. Thanks for watching everybody, and I hope you enjoyed that. Please check out the blog below where I've written a lot more about bone black and other blacks. And this is a pigment that's been used for centuries by many famous artists, for example Rembrandt. Just to let you know that the camera doesn't really pick up the difference in color very well, but to my own eyes I can see that the carbon black is definitely a bit cooler than the bone black. So the color temperature of the bone black is determined by the temperature that the pigment was actually calcined at in the fire, but I've written more about that in the blog below. So please stay tuned on my journey as I continue to make other paints in the traditional manner, and thanks for watching.